We're turning our attention to Manchester United. Andy Mitten, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. All good. Hope you're okay. Looking forward to the talk.
Another midweek conversation with you and another Manchester United victory to look back on. We're obviously in the uptick part of this boom and bust cycle that we've been following so closely for the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. The last time we spoke after a Champions League game, I was in Istanbul and it was a bust part of the cycle. And since then, Manchester United have won 3 consecutive games, convincingly away at inform Everton, less convincingly at home to West Brom in a pretty poor performance, but it was United's first home win of the Premier League season. And then far more convincingly, at least in the first half, against the Turkish champions. 4-1 in any Champions League game is a top result, and United have got 9 points from the first 4 games in a very tough group, a group which, when it was announced, most fans were saying that's us dropping down into the Europa League after Christmas again. I still think it's going to be difficult for United to go through. I do think United will go through, but the 2 remaining games at home to PSG and away to RB Leipzig, United could easily lose both of them. They're both very good teams.
And nobody would be surprised if they won them. It's these games at home to a team like Istanbul Basaksehir, where Manchester United might traditionally struggle. It plays into the West Brom game at the weekend, where perhaps Manchester United haven't been cutthroat enough with their team selection, maybe a lack of bravery with their team selection. Not the case last night. When you've got Rashford, Fernandes, Martial and Cavani in the one team, it's always going to be a good team selection. And Donny van de Beek sitting in the midfield too is something that I presume even before kickoff, Andy, would have made a lot of Manchester United fans very excited.
Yeah, it did. People want to see more of Donny van de Beek. He's a new signing. He's got very good pedigree coming from a successful Ajax team. Some United fans were surprised at how little he's played. The manager has always said that so many games this year he's going to get lots of chances, and I do believe him there. And when he plays like he did against the Turkish side, then more people will be saying that he should be starting more frequently. He was the big winner in last night's game. He played really well. He linked up superbly with Bruno Fernandes in front of him. There was that quick one-touch passing. And in front of Fernandes, Edinson Cavani, who, while he didn't score, I thought he had a very good game. He looked like a proper number 9. His movement was excellent. And United started the game so impressively with that attacking side. Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford both had very good first halves. Fernandes is the man. He's made such a huge difference to Manchester United in 2020. He scored 20 goals in his first 35 games, and he's a midfielder. The way that United faded towards the end, and Istanbul scored and added their own pressure, probably shows where Manchester United are in struggling to fully see a game out. They're not a top-notch side yet. But back to your original point, I didn't have a clue what was going to happen last night. This team is so hard to predict. And I emailed Jim White, who's a Manchester United writer, yesterday, and he asked me about the game, and I said, I honestly don't know if it's going to be 3-0 to Man United or 3-0 to the Turkish team. And we're in the upward side of the boom. And so obviously United played well, but started really, really well. And I jokingly tweeted that perhaps United should play the Champions League music before every home Premier League game and just not tell the players it's a domestic game. I mean, Alex Tellers is not going to have a clue what the Everton kit's supposed to look like or the Southampton kit's supposed to look like, is he? And I was obviously joking, but it is alarming how poor United are in the Premier League at home, very good away, and how impressive they've been in the 2 Champions League home games so far against Leipzig and Istanbul.
Is this the team now, Andy? Is this your front 6 at this point? Like, can you afford to move away from this, given, albeit only for a half of football, but given how attractive they look? Because Manchester United have been able to pick up big wins, but it might be over the course of 90 minutes. I'm not sure have we seen them pulverise a team in half a game like they did last night, and I think that's down to the team selection.
Definitely, and a feeling of being vengeful after that awful result in Istanbul a few weeks ago. I totally take your point. Cavani, I think, needs to play more and probably will play more. And I've been pretty consistent in saying how great he is, because the people I speak to know far more than I do. That is their view. I thought Alex Telles had a good game at left back. And this is a big improvement on a year ago. Because Luke Shaw, who was one of United's best players before he got injured, again, he needed to be covered for. And Telles has come in, he crosses the ball really well. He set up one of the goals. Van der Beek played really well. So I can see it all coming together. And those three players did themselves no harm at all. But we've been here before. And this Man United will probably win at Southampton and then probably lose at home. Fortunately, there's 2 away games now in the league. United have been good away, but they've got to become more consistent. That's 3 straight wins now. And we're talking about Van der Beek and the midfield. That has been an area of concern. They've been getting overrun in the middle. And no one's really talking about Paul Pogba being there now. He's fallen out of pretty much everybody's starting 11. Fred gave a couple of sloppy passes in the first half at Old Trafford on Tuesday night, but he's become quite an important player. I'm not saying he's Roy Keane, but he's become quite an important player. And United have just got to continue on this upward curve, like they did in February up to the lockdown, and after the lockdown in July. But I think there'll be more bumps along the way. I'm not just going to sit here and say United are going to start winning now. That's it. I just think that the squad is still short when compared to Liverpool, who I think are probably going to run away with the league this year. And I'm obviously delighted for Liverpool Football Club at that prospect. But I'm more concerned about Manchester United. And generally, I think it is moving in the right direction. But then it has to. The team are 2 points ahead in the league at where they were at the same stage last season. So even though United are mid-table, which isn't good enough, that represents some progress. That is clutching at straws there, because last season was a terrible start to the season. But they just need to start getting them wins and start winning at Old Trafford. But 2 wins at Old Trafford in 4 days is definitely encouraging.
The next 2 away games are Southampton and West Ham, and in previous seasons and in previous regimes, certainly in the Ferguson era, you would have chalked that down for 6 points. But actually, both those teams are playing really well at the moment, so it's a good opportunity, and they've got Paris Saint-Germain sandwiched in the middle. This next run of three games is going to be very illustrative of exactly where they are. And with that, we tick into December, and with December comes all the transfer rumour mill again. Are you expecting there to be a move on the Pogba front now, or will that wait until the summer, do you think?
I'd be surprised if Pogba left in January. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of activity unless United manage to move on some of the players who aren't featuring. Marcus Rojo, Sergio Romero, Phil Jones, Jesse Lingard. But it doesn't strike me that clubs are flush with money, the biggest clubs, like they were because of the economic situation with COVID. You spoke about Southampton, very good team when they came to Old Trafford after the lockdown and got a draw. Last season, United also drew away at Southampton. If they win this weekend, they'll go level on points, I think, with Southampton. West Ham away at the Olympic Stadium, the London Stadium, whatever it's called. That's been one of the worst grounds for Man United in recent years. That has seen some absolute stinkers. And David Moyes is doing well with West Ham. So they're both tough games. PSG at Old Trafford. PSG have easily got the players capable of coming and winning, like they did last time when they outclassed Man United last year. So that's why I'm saying the Champions League qualification is far from foregone. In January, with transfers, Diallo Traore is coming in from Atalanta. He's 18 years old. He's another right winger. He's a very exciting prospect, according to the people I've spoke to who watch players like him professionally. But he's not even in Atlanta's first team at the moment. And he's been on the bench for Atalanta. Maybe that's because they know that he's leaving, but he's had very, very few minutes. So he's one for the future. I think you'd see United nudged into action if things were as bad as they were last year. That's what pushed the move towards Bruno Fernandes. A desperation, if you like, because United lost 4 games last January. But while we're talking now on the upward curve, then I think that is less likely. But look, if Borussia Dortmund said, "Do you want Jadon Sancho for 70 million in January?" I think United would absolutely move for him. But they're not going to do it.
Yeah, okay, that would make sense. Look, just to round out Owen's point about Van de Beek getting picked last night and Pogba not really in the first 11, are we now getting to the point, sooner rather than later, where actually the logic and the received wisdom will be that you can play Van de Beek and Bruno even against the good teams, even against the good teams away from home? So say, for example, the next time they go to Anfield or they go to Chelsea or one of those games or Spurs, the next time those big games happen, that he's going to be comfortable having those two creative midfielders in his team.
When Van de Beek signed, I spoke to Mike Phelan, the assistant manager, and he said they saw him as like a half forward. He was very attacking and he played very deep last night. I know he moved forward later on in the games. United's big problems aren't really coming against the best teams who come out and attack them. Although at home at Old Trafford, the midfield was totally overrun and tactically outsmarted against Tottenham in the 6-1. Against Palace, probably another freak result. But against Arsenal, who are actually below Manchester United in the table, I think Van de Beek's going to feature. What Ollie needs to do is find his favoured formation, and that at the moment would include Van de Beek and not Paul Pogba. But a fit Paul Pogba in form is a huge asset to have. We've just not seen it for so long that fans have lost patience. And as I said, they wouldn't be too bothered if he moved on. So it reminds me a little bit of, in the treble season, you had these four strikers, Cole Solskjaer, Teddy Sheringham and Dwight York. And it took a couple of months, and it was actually at Southampton away where Cole and York really clicked. And Fergie thought, they're my two favoured starters. And I'll use all the others, but they're my two favourite starters. And the midfield situation has not been solved so far. And you can argue a case for and against every single player there. A year ago, Matic wouldn't have featured and Fred wouldn't have. And they had really good starts. After the blip in January, they were both playing really well and were key players. Pogba is out of favour now. Van de Beek's back into favour. Jesse Lingard's not featuring. Fernandes has been the man. He's the best player. He's the most creative force. And he would have had a hat-trick last night if he wouldn't have given the penalty to Marcus Rashford, who scored a great penalty.
Yeah, why did he do that? Why did he give away his hat-trick?
I think there's a school of thought within the club that the best penalty taker is Marcus Rashford. Well, I don't think that. I know that. And I think it was pretty selfless of him to do that. And his penalties have not been overly convincing. And Man United get a penalty every week, as everybody who doesn't support Man United always complains about. So, yeah, I think that was a good one for team spirit. Look, Bruno didn't need more goals to boost his confidence. And he's had his fair share of penalties, and he made that point afterwards. If he can carry some of the players up to being the best with him, and they've all got room for improvement, then I quite liked it when he passed that penalty over.
Didn't Rashford just pass a penalty over a couple of weeks back as well when he was on that hat-trick, and then ultimately he gets his hat-trick off the bench? So maybe it's like good karma is now...
Yeah, it's good. It's a good karma. This isn't Cavani and Ibrahimovic at PSG, where they're all sort of growling at each other.
Yeah.
And good karma can help for a good team spirit. And Man United need all that at the moment. Look at the league table. But if they get that, it's another small margin and another step towards improvement. And we're going these 4 or 5 game winning runs. And then when we speak in 2 weeks after another defeat, the world will come crashing back down again.
It might even be next week after the PSG game. Is it 4-2-3-1? Is that the formation, and that the identity of that two is Fred +1, and ideally for most Man United fans, I'd love to see Van de Beek there and given a run. Is that essentially what we're saying at the moment?
4-2-3-1 is definitely Solskjaer's preferred formation, and yet some of his best performances have been with a 3 or a 5 at the back. I think he will mostly go with 4-2-3-1, but he will alter, especially against some of the best teams, because United are really effective on the counter-attack, and they've got that incredible pace up front. And part of the problem has been getting the ball to those players up front. Martial didn't help himself by being out after being sent off, so he's another one who he needs goals. he started the game well last night and faded a bit like his team in the second half. If you're asking at the moment, then it's Fred and Van der Beek. But as I said, it can change pretty quickly. You can't just write Matic off when he's had so many good games this year. But at the moment, he wouldn't be the one that people are starting.
Andy, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers. It's Andy Mitten from, of course, United We Stand and 442. And you can also read stuff on The Athletic and ESPN as well. So 7:58 this morning here on OTB AM. We're live in association with Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead. You can get in touch. 087 9 180 180 is the number. And you can also get us on Twitter @OffTheBall, or you can use the hashtag OTBM or leave a comment on the YouTube stream. We'll get your comments in just a couple of minutes.